To make the tree bark for our birch trees, we're going to take a thin white piece of paper, some black tempera paint, and a piece of cardboard. You're going to dip one long edge of the cardboard into your black paint, and going left to right, just kind of scrape it across. And we want to leave some white, so I'm not trying to fill it all in with black paint. I'm just trying to get it to look kind of like birch tree bark, which is white with some gray and black striping going through it. And then when this is dry, we'll be cutting it into 3 different trees for our painting. Okay, once I'm done with that, I can leave my cardboard in my paint bowl, and I'm going to set this aside to dry before I cut it, and I'm going to start working on my cardinal. To make our cardinal, we're going to be using some math. So we're going to start by tracing a whole circle on our red paper. So we're starting out with one hole. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Take your time. Okay, you're going to want to recycle your scraps, and now we've got one whole circle to start with. First, we're going to cut it in half, so we will have 2 halves. So to do that, we're just going to draw a line down the middle. Now we have 2 halves. Next, on one side, actually let's go ahead and cut that so we can see it better. Okay, 2 halves. All right, so now I'm going to put one of these to the side because we're going to leave one of the halves as it is. We're going to take the other half and we're going to create 2/4. So we want to do that by drawing a line through the middle this way. So now I have 1/2 and 2/4 with my whole circle here. And I'm going to put one of these again to the side. And for my last one, I'm going to draw a line down the middle one more time, which will be 2/8, because 2/8 equals 1/4. Oh my goodness, math and art. What a cool connection. All right, so now I've got, to make my whole circle, 1/2, 1/4, and 2/8. And so to put our cardinal together, the 1/2 is going to be the body, the 1/4 is going to be the wing, and the 2/8 are going to be the tail, and then flip this upside down to be the head. And so you can, if you have pencil marks on the one side, you can just flip that over when you put it together, and you can just have it on the back side so you don't have to worry about it. Now before I glue these down, if my birch tree paper is dry, I'm going to take my background navy blue paper, write what on the back? My name. And I'm going to cut this whole piece into thirds. So 1, 2, 3 trees. And if you want, you can draw it on the back first, or you can just cut it into 3 pieces. So 1, 2, and 3. So now my whole birch tree paper is cut into 3 tree trunks. And we're going to glue those to the background. You can space them out kind of how you want. So I'm going to take my glue. I don't want too much because then it'll come out the side. So I'm just going to kind of trace each long rectangle on the back. And I just want to make sure it's lined up with the top and bottom of the paper. Okay, before I glue down my cardinal, I'm going to kind of reposition it again. So again, our 1/2 is the body. Our fourth is the wing. And it can be up a little like he's flying. And then the 2/8 are going to be the tail. And then upside down and kind of tilted is the head. So however you want to glue this is fine. I'm going to start with my half. Again, outline on the back. But I'm not going to press it on fully because I want to kind of sneak some of these pieces underneath. Like I want to tuck the tail under like that. So just don't press it down if that's how you'd like to do it. But the wing I'm going to put on top, I think. So for your beak, you're going to take just a little yellow scrap of paper, and what I like to do is kind of line it up where it's going to go right here on the side of the head, and then just draw it next to the head so I can see kind of how big I want it to be. And then I'm going to cut it and glue it. Okay, so to finish our cardinal in the style of Charlie Harper, we're going to kind of break it up with shapes and lines. So for the face where the beak starts here, I'm going to draw a line across, and then I'm going to make a point there and then come over to the other edge of the beak. And then this is going to be all black around the eye, so I'm going to color that in with my Sharpie. Okay, and then to represent the feathers on the head, we're just going to make some thin lines, kind of going up, and a line in the beak. And then on the wing, I like to just draw some straight lines, because Charlie Harper really just kind of broke things up into geometric shapes. And same kind of thing on the tail. And if you want to change this a little bit, that's very much okay. And then to show the feathers on the belly, I'm just going to do some U shapes or even W. All right, and then to make the little eye on top of the black, we're going to take a metallic marker. So I've got a silver here, and you can do this differently if you'd like, but I'm just going to make sort of a letter U here. Okay, now for a really fun last step, you're going to grab a placemat, and to make some snow kind of drifting down on our picture, we're actually going to take a clean toothbrush, and I've mixed some white tempera paint with water, so it's really like thin paint, and I'm just going to dip it, get a little bit onto the toothbrush here. You don't need a whole lot. And I'm going to face it down, and I'm going to sort of run my finger across the bristles really close to my paper to flick on little bits of white paint to look like snow. It's so cool. And you don't need a ton, so if you need to dip it one more time to do a little bit more, that's okay, but a little bit goes a long way with this. All right, and when I'm all done, I'm going to go put it on the drying rack, wash my hand, and let's get started.